Yo, this is Midas. Today, let's talk about Bitcoin. So, disclaimer, everything in the video is only for educational purposes. Make sure to do your own research. So, first of all, what is Bitcoin? You can think of Bitcoin as basically buying digital gold. Well, first of all, the reason why you should buy Bitcoin is it's the perfect hedge against inflation, especially when currencies are dropping because of potential tariffs. Canada, Mexico, and China now. Bitcoin is now the greatest store of value. It's even better than gold because how scarce it is and how many big players are trying to enter into the Bitcoin game. Additionally, during inflationary periods where money is worth less because money will be printed more, this is really prominent during bear markets. Bitcoin will still retain its value in the long run since it is scarce compared to those other assets. Additionally, Bitcoin has already flipped the market cap of the Canadian currency. That means its market cap is larger than a whole country, which is very significant. I think that now is not even an asset that is risk and volatile despite going down. I think it just has more upside to keep going up. So, like I mentioned, Bitcoin is very scarce. When Bitcoin was released in 2010, there was 21 million tokens released. Now today, there are only 1.1 million Bitcoins remaining to be minted. That means if you wanted to buy, 10 million or billions of these Bitcoin or any sort of sovereignty in a country, they will not have the access to it. It's going to become an arms race for countries to decide who gets the most Bitcoin. And the US right now is leading with that with a strategic reserve. And if you don't know already, every 4 years, the supply of Bitcoin gets reduced in half. 2024 was the last halving, and the last one before that was in 2021. Every single Bitcoin halving has been why there was a bull run in crypto because less supply of a Bitcoin, and we wanted to have that demand, low supply, high demand equals more price spikes and just better times for the market, just simple economics. And yeah, finally, eventually there will be no bit more Bitcoin to mine. Once that 21 million Bitcoins are bought up and no one's selling, the value of Bitcoin just gonna skyrocket. Is basically buying a scarce version of gold. Now there's the strategy with Michael Saylor and his company MicroStrategy. So if you don't know, MicroStrategy is a company that's been running that's the company Michael Saylor was running, and he decided to try something new by investing in Bitcoin. So for 2020 to now, he now owns the most Bitcoin in the world with 446,000 Bitcoin, which is close to 2% of all Bitcoin in the world. He's been buying it up weekly now and just monthly, and he's been stacking it despite buying Bitcoin at even all-time high prices. That's how you know how much he believed in Bitcoin, buying it since it was priced at 30,000 Canadian to now, which is around 100,000 USD. You can also see other companies now following this Bitcoin or MicroStrategy strategy with Mara, Hut 8, and Michael still has projected one Bitcoin will be worth 13 million in 2045. That's a pretty significant investment if he bought it in back at $30,000. Large financial institutions are also buying Bitcoin. A Bitcoin ETF was released this year, allowing for everyone to hold Bitcoin. That ETF was released in the US, but Canada had this since 2020. Now, BlackRock, banks, and companies are adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. Like I mentioned, with all these big players and big institutions buying in, I can see Bitcoin becoming not even a risk asset anymore, but becoming its own asset class, very similar to silver and gold. Now, with this momentum and awareness for Bitcoin, you will see lots of manga companies buying in, like Microsoft, Google. I think Microsoft had their shareholder meeting in order to project if they wanted to add Bitcoin to the balance sheet, but it was rejected. All we need is just one manga company to add Bitcoin, and you will just see all the other companies start adding it into the balance sheet because no one wants to be left behind. Now, with Trump and his US strategic Bitcoin reserve, I think it's also known as a national digital stockpile. What his goal is he wants to trade a reserve to make the US a Bitcoin superpower in the world. And he can do that with his cabinet being prominent players in the crypto space. Now, having a large country like the US buying Bitcoin will also encourage other countries to do the same, like China and Russia. And I can see this happening in the next few months. Also encouraging sovereign states and people with large sums of inherited money to do the same, like oil money. You can see it in Dubai or those big countries that have all this money. They're going to want to stack it somewhere. And I think the best asset to do that is with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's also becoming more of a stable asset. While the number of big institutions, celebrities, and households are now understanding the value of Bitcoin, the asset is becoming more stable. Like I mentioned, with these big financial institutions and big players trying to buy in, like the US, you're going to see Bitcoin as pretty much gold or pretty much silver. I think once the whole world realizes that Bitcoin is a scarce asset, they're going to keep buying in, and eventually the supply is just going to go to zero. Bitcoin is one of the top 10 assets to own and is second to gold, which I believe in. And if we think 10 years down the road, I can see Bitcoin being equivalent to buying an estate in New York when you were a child. That's a quote that Michael Saylor has said, and something that I also believe in. With all these players, I truly believe that Bitcoin right now is just too big to fail. Like if a company has millions or even billions just tied up into Bitcoin and Bitcoin, crashes to zero, the amount of people that are just going to be completely destroyed from holding Bitcoin, I feel like it's just too significant. And especially with the US buying in now and BlackRock, they're not going to want to take a loss off of this asset. So I feel like unless Bitcoin gets completely hacked by quantum computing, that's unlikely to happen. So what now? So how to capitalize on the bull run from December 2024 to December 2025? Do not buy Bitcoin now. You might say, buy as much Bitcoin as you can. Try to stack it up before the bull run. Well, you could do that. Let's say it's around $100,000 USD right now. Analysts are predicting highest I've seen is 300K USD. It's around a 3x, which is good. But if you think big picture, there's so many altcoins like Sui and Solana that have even higher projections. Like Sui right now, my bull market predictions are on that it's at least a 5x. You're going to make a lot more money buying altcoins compared to buying Bitcoin. While Bitcoin is not as risky, at the same time, though, crypto in general, we all know it's going to go up because of the bull run, because how bullish Trump is on these bullish assets. Like I think back in 2021, Bit crypto was still being adopted. There wasn't the first US president of crypto, but now we actually have that. And I think that crypto now is seen as an asset that a lot of big players are trying to buy into. So from there, I think it's better to put your money into assets that will grow faster, like Sui and Solana. But aside from that, based on previous market cycles, we can anticipate a dip after the bull run. This might change with Trump's inauguration and how he's buying into Bitcoin. But from previous cycles, we've seen Bitcoin crash down to, I think in 2021, it went from 100K to $30,000. So we can anticipate that for 2025. And yeah, wait for the bear market to buy. Billions are made in the bear, not in the bull market. That's all I have for today. I will catch you guys in the next video.